in this market here, they want to actually go out there and see something called impact when you're writing a resume because they don't have time to go out there and ask you. This is actually why I included it into the YouTube playlist because, like, okay, so we did X, Y, and Z. We did X, Y, and Z, which resulted in what? Well, with the resume that I just saw that you just piped out, I saw like a lot of your impact bullets were percentages, right? I don't really have a baseline to assess increase by 20%. Well, what does 20% mean, right? Like 25%. What does 25% mean? We need something clear. Like we increase website traffic from 4,000 visitors a week to 8,000 visitors a week within 4 months. So the reason why my people are getting, 10 to 25 interviews like a week, booking upwards of 39 interviews a week, is because we have optimized mobile user experience leading to a 30% increase, yes, 25% boost in daily active users within 6 months. To make this even more clear, we would say optimized mobile user experience leading to a 30%. So what's like, they're going to ask, what is a 30% increase in mobile engagement? So we recently got somebody years ago into a dating app, right? And then they're coming back into the market right now. Okay, so we helped increase the average user screen time from 41 minutes per day to 73 minutes per day within 4 months. So now I have some very clear metrics to go ahead and pitch you to the director of product or the head of product. Because right now, just like how a lot of people, why do we think we just live stream everything on YouTube right now? Right now, we're on live. You want to know why? It's because everybody that's been hiring, they've been burned. And recruiter and hiring managers, they're not reviewing resumes out there anymore because they're just too freaking overwhelmed. So recruiters are pitching you guys over to the hiring manager like a Hollywood agent is pitching a script to an actor and say, yo, Moon, yo, man, what do you think about being a new Marvel Comics superhero? What? Daredevil. What, the blind guy? No, 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 man. Let me tell you why it's going to be high. Because you know why? Countries like in Asia, they love superheroes with disabilities. Man, we're talking about selling lunchboxes to 1.4 billion people. Oh, that's, that's a completely different story, right? So you got to think when the recruiter, why I'm like so harsh on people is I want you guys to get off of these calls. You got to think, how is the recruiter going to go ahead and pitch you guys over to the hiring manager, right? If they only get 4 minutes of their time. Let me tell you how wiped out my bandwidth is because I got to do 4 of these calls a day. And then I lie down and take a look at Instagram in between calls, right? When Plexi here, I have team members that have been pinging me on Slack. What do you think? I'm freaking Iron Man? No. I shut down too. We have ad videos right now going on for our cybersecurity program. My paid ads guy, he's been asking me to update those videos. It's a 15-second video. He just needs 3 versions of it. He's been asking me for 8 days, and I haven't given it to him. Somebody has got to physically lock Richard down. Rich, we need these 15-second clips, bro. We're losing money on these ads, and that's my money. And you know how much Chinese people love money. If that's my money out there, on top of the fact I'm paying for the guy and I'm paying for the ads, and I don't even have what 15 seconds per video. That's what 45 seconds. Because then I gotta stop focusing on what I'm doing and I gotta do this. You gotta imagine what it's like right now for somebody who's working in tech, right? So if the recruiter, they're not going to the hiring manager and sending them a Slack message saying interview this person. And they don't interview everybody because recruiters send over some shit people. Recruiters send over some shit people because hiring managers don't do a good job writing job descriptions. And the recruiter, they're recruiting for everybody. They're recruiting for the next financial controller down to the next QA that just went on maternity leave, right? And decided to never come back. So
Mhm.
they're going to go out there and say, yo, Summer, can I go out there and just grab you really quick for like 30 seconds. Okay, I really want you to interview this guy named Moon. Why? Um, and they're like, okay, so he has e-commerce background. Every asshole says they have e-commerce background. They just got to go out there and pop on ChatGPT, write me an e-commerce product manager resume. That's not wrong. People are doing it in the market. They need to go over there saying like, okay, so we need somebody to help improve our website traffic, right? Well, he was able to go from 4,000 weekly visitors to 17,000 weekly visitors. How long did he do it? The guy did it in 4 months. Is that what it says on his resume? Yeah. They need to go in there with some metrics to get that person to want to take 30 minutes out of their day to stop what they're doing and to go ahead and interview you. If you're noticing what's going on with the interview process right now, when are most of these jobs getting posted? After 4 or 5 o'clock. When we're booking right now, averaging right now in the main program, 15 to 20 interviews like a week. You know when most of these calls are happening? After 3 or 4 o'clock. Because they know once they talk to you, they have no more creative bandwidth to do anything else. Because once they do a 30-minute call with you, whatever meeting or whatever deep work they had to go out there and do, wiped out. It's gone. They literally can't get back to that Miro board. They cannot focus back on that Asana. So all those calls right now. So when are recruiters even pitching these people? After 3, 4 o'clock. You know when they're the most pissed off? After 3, 4 o'clock. You see where I'm going with this? So
The
when you're doing
recruiter to
this
the
right
hiring
here,
manager, you're right. Sorry, I
is
didn't want
that
to interrupt you. A recruiter to the hiring manager pitching to them. Yeah, right.
100%. So when you're actually pitching your resume back, you got to think about it in this way. This is actually why we have the list. Under resume description bullets, which is why you got to watch all those videos. You see, this is why we're doing this shit live because people can't even watch videos. I'm literally giving people the templates that people landed jobs from, and people aren't even like, oh, what, where, right? If you're taking right now off of this, oh, now you can see my thing. If the thing that you need to know is this success and achievement bullets, there's only a few categories. You either have product launch success, market penetration, revenue growth, user engagement, cost optimization, agile implementation, customer satisfaction. These three here, if you really don't have anything to talk about, then you go to these three. Most people focus on revenue growth. I would not go there because A, 80% of product managers are working on internal products. B, 90% of the people that are applying to product manager jobs have never been a product manager before. And then C, well, we're in a very volatile market right now. So anything you did to drive revenue, those game plans might not even be effective in this market. So I would say avoid it. Better way to go, cost optimization, user engagement, customer satisfaction. So if we're going to go with cost optimization, I think is the easiest one, but most people aren't even talking about it on their resume. And one of the hottest bullets actually in this resume right here, I put this one as resume template number one. The hottest resume bullet was this. By accident, we worked with somebody that transitioned from accounting into product management, and the bullet was identified an invoice processing error, which resulted in $180,000 saved in monthly expenses for software subscriptions. Why is that a hot bullet? Because every recruiter and every hiring manager was asking them, how did you find out that processing error? Because why? Because we're all trying to save money right now, right? So you got to be smart. It's like, okay, when the market was good, it was easier to make money. Now the market's volatile. It's not as easy to make money. So even if you did talk about like, oh yeah, I did that. Like, when did you do that? Back in like when the market was great. Well, is that going to work right now? Oh, we don't know. So, like, talk about things like how you can help a company save money. Most people always default into like revenue growth, and I'm like, don't go there because most people can't talk about it. The people that can talk about it, it might not be working in 2025. Especially like right now going into the market where tech companies start the year off with layoffs, right? You don't really want to like talk about revenue growth plans because it might not even work. So the easiest thing to do is cost optimization. So if you go down to cost optimization, I have right now all these different cost optimization bullets. So, okay, let's talk about very easy things that you can even just talk about is like consolidated facilities to improve operational efficiency, achieving 20% reduction and saving $4 million in operational expenses over a 2 year period. I would say over a 6 month period in this market, right? But you can actually say that. That was actually one of my roles was to go out there and put together like an internal accounting platform to go out there and minimize it down. If you're talking about why you're not getting interviews, it's strictly because when the recruiter is looking at you, they don't know how to pitch you to the head or director of product. 50% of the people they pass over to them has to get passed over to the third round. Otherwise, you're wasting the head of product's time. And the head of product is going to come back to the recruiter boss, which is the head of recruiting, and say, Jerry's been wasting my freaking time. And I don't know why he's doing that. Because I'm already, hard pressed. Because, DeepSeek just wiped out $1.2 trillion in market share. So every minute I feel like I'm wasting talking to the wrong person. I feel like I could be solving a problem that's going to save the team's job. And I'm going to go out there and blame Jerry. And then I'm going to go out there and yell at Jerry. And then Jerry's going to get fired. So Jerry is rather going to send nobody that week rather than risk it and losing his job. So when Jerry's looking at your resume, why is the metrics bullets, why is it important? It's important because not everybody the recruiter is going to recommend is actually going to get an interview to the hiring manager. And if they don't see a way to pitch you, and mind you, they don't know you. If they don't see a way to pitch you, and then they see one of our other resumes coming out of the production program and they see it's easier, well, they can't talk to everybody because recruiters are recruiting for 70 roles at any given time right now. So it's like, okay, this guy here or Summer here, if I schedule the call and I ask them some of these questions, I could probably get it out of them. But this other girl, Celine, is ready to go. So my time is not infinite. This is actually why I made the resume playlist, and it's so important for you guys to watch that whole playlist is because you need the recruiter on your side. You need to understand all the challenges the recruiter is going through. This is why my program is the number one program, even though I've never been a product manager, because I said if you can't get the recruiter on your side, the head or director of product's never going to know that you're alive. And the recruiter is your best friend and ally, regardless of how you feel about that person. So when I was a recruiter, we were only recruiting for 30 positions at any given time. Right now, the number's up to 70. So they're more overworked, but the recruiter's pay has not changed. It was 75K 11 years ago. It's still 75K now. And 75K a decade ago is worth a lot more than 75K now. So they're twice as pissed off. It, much more overworked, and definitely much more at risk of getting laid off because recruiters already know AI is going to go ahead and wipe them out. So they're also thinking about what they can be doing next. That's why we also get a lot of recruiters that schedule a call with us because, luckily, as a good human being, I help some of my former tech recruiting friends actually transition to product management. And I've been getting calls from recruiters like, hey, can I do that too? You can't keep doing what you're doing because AI is going to recruiting is one of the roles that are going to take out AI is one of recruiters one of the roles AI is definitely going to go out there and take out. So having said that, you need 6 bullets per position. The reason why I chomp on people's font Calibri so much is because if you're using an old font, they're just going to think you're old. Old isn't bad, but the problem with old is expensive. So they think, oh, because this person here has been on the job longer, they're going to want more money. But in the world of product, salaries are going for like average like 150, like 200K. Um, so if you want the better roles, just show more value out there. But that's another thing that you can't really get around. So what you want to do is make your just like from the 14-second glance that I had at your resume right now, right? Anything beyond also 2020 is not relevant because we're in 2025. You're going to keep it 100%. You must keep it on your LinkedIn, but you cannot have it on your resume. So for the next call, I want you to watch all the resume videos because I want you to get out of here so you can take action. That guy right now, I would not say is ready to go ahead and get fired off. Having said that, what you should do is watch all the videos, update it. Next week, I'll take a look at it again. But there's really nothing stopping you right now from reaching out to roles on LinkedIn if you want. But the problem is this. So if you reach out to the hiring manager right now directly and they say, okay, can you send me your resume? I want to interview you. Your resume is not exactly ready to go. So, right. So that's why, like, I made basically this whole checklist. I think I made like 113 line items for people to go through. And I was like, well, if there's 113 things to guarantee, because you already see we are getting more interviews off of this, right? If there's like 130, we are getting more interviews off of this. Um, um, you need to go out there and hit it. So, like, that's the best way. Otherwise, it's going to be another 4 hour session. I chomp down on this with people uh, very clearly, just because. Let's see here. Plexi, can you mark down the time 10:28, 28 minutes in? Um, I mark down, yeah, thank you. I chomp down to people like that because I get 200 resume review requests a day, and I'm like, here are the 113 things you just got to do to go out there and get past the ATS. And that's actually the biggest reason why people aren't reaching out to more of these hiring managers because they're not confident in their resume. And a lot of people, they reach out, they get their attention for 2 seconds, and they're like, okay, send me your resume. And they're like, their resume is just not ready to go. You need higher impact bullets. Other thing about higher impact bullets is going to be basically this is the major lesson of the day. What I do in the main program for people after they get is like every like once a month, I actually tell people and they're not going to do it. So I just do it with them as a group. You need to be actually like as you're working your job right now, you need to be thinking about what recent impact you're getting on the job like every Friday. This is actually the key to like why so many product gym people get promoted so much faster is like you should be documenting all the impact. When people go into like a performance review, it usually happens at the end of the month or like at the end of the quarter or like twice a year at some companies, or some companies it's even once a year, right? And then they're trying to think, oh, what the hell did I do? Like, it's too late. If you actually force yourself like every Thursday, every Friday to really think like, what did I do the last 5? I mean, they clearly have you on the payroll at the company for a reason, right? So like, what did I do the last like 5 days, right? When you start chalking up like, holy shit, actually at the end of the month, you're like, I'm actually underpaid because look at all the value that I'm delivering. So when you're going in there, you have like actual evidence, right? So when people are talking about like, should I just go out there and customize my roles? Like, actually, no. Start thinking about what's the value that you already bring to your current company, right? And then once you have that on a spreadsheet, and you will amazingly, you will remember every single bullet by heart because you've been doing the work. You see the role, you immediately just start grabbing, dragging, and dropping. And that's also another reason why my people are getting like 15, 30. I told you some guy booked like we had it like on YouTube Live. 39 product manager interviews a week is because like, oh shoot, like I actually do all this stuff. So you got to make it easier. You know, the key to your resume is you got to make it easier to go ahead and pitch the recruiter to pitch you to the hiring manager, but also you got to make it easier for the hiring team to pitch you to the recruiting team too when it comes down to offer. So why are my people, we're putting up all these, like the most recent testimonial was this one girl got like a $75,000 pay bump in our program, right? That was the most recent testimonial that came out. Why did she get $75,000 pay bump? Well, number one reason is our program is awesome, but the hiring team's got to go now to the recruiting team with the resume and say, okay, she did this. That's why we want to hire her. And she was also on an H-1B. So like, and H-1s is like, you know, there's a little bit more paperwork. So you want HR to get approved to draft out this number for you. They got to have a reason. They got to tell everybody's got a boss. So they got to tell somebody too why they're doing that. They just can't be like, whoa, what the 215? I thought the budget was approved for 195. And if they're really good, we can go 220. Well, this is the reason why they're really good. They always say that. It's just like when you're buying a house with a real estate agent, right? Oh, if it's a really good house, like, my husband and I, we can go out there and whip out, we got some under the mattress money hidden. Well, how do you quantify really good? Okay, well, this is the reason why. One of our biggest challenges right now is minimizing customer onboarding time. And our customer onboarding time right now is about like, at the enterprise level is, 8 weeks. She got it down from also 8 weeks down to 2 weeks. And this is actually how she was able to do it by implementing AI chatbots, or something we also teach in the program, right? But those skills don't mean anything if you don't have it documented on the resume, because they're gonna forget. And like HR can't just be like, so you're asking me to whip out what, a 215K offer based on what? Just trust us, this is the right move? No, because that recruiter's got to tell the head of talent or the head of HR. And the head of HR, they got to also report to the CFO. Because now that's taking money off of, like, that's why the resume playlist is so important, is because everybody goes into this job just thinking about what they want to get. Let's just assume for a second here, half your family's working there. All that shit right now leaves the paper trail, especially in this market. Ain't nobody trying to put their name out there like that. Like, if you want me to sign, you get okay from this person, I'll freaking sign it. But I'm not going to freaking do it, because if they come down and this person doesn't work out, I'm not going to go out there and get my head chopped off for this thing. And that's also the other thing that people need to realize. It's a very unfortunate that 278,000 people got laid off during this time. But unfortunately, I'm just going to have to say it. What hiring will never admit publicly is a lot of shitty people got laid off, and they've all been burned. They've all hired people that turned out to be the totally mismarketed, false marketed person, and that cost them time. And nobody is trying to get burned like that ever again. The money they'll always make back, but time they'll never buy back. We only get 4 quarters in a year, and it's your earnings report like before you know it, and they got to show numbers. I mean, even Nvidia, come due date, I mean, they got a time where they got to show their numbers too. Right? So that's my spiel on it for the people that's watching this. If I'm coming off fired up, part of the reason is not personally directed towards y'all. It's also how fired up, like, when they're looking at your interview, they're just thinking about all the things that can go wrong. Because the last time, in the past 2.5, since April 2022, every head and director of product has hired somebody that was false marketed, and they've been burned before, and they're lucky that they didn't lose their job, and they're coming off of that very defensive because that's the mindset that they have. All right, questions. We got some minutes left. You're on mute.
I just have one question, Richard. Thanks for explaining the in details about current situation.
Yeah, because I freaking want you
Definitely,
to get
like,
the job, dude. And
yes, yes.
I also want you to go into the interview. I also want people going into the interview knowing exactly this is the emotional state of mind that people are in at that time.
Correct. Right on. So my only question, I will work on my resume. But here, my current role, I'm working at Nielsen TV ratings as a membership rep. So the role, should I keep it membership rep representative or something else? Should I redefine it?
That I leave for you to go ahead and decide. But the most important thing is the title doesn't matter as much as what your resume
Ah,
bullets are. So the
okay.
other reason why I compiled this list of like resume description bullets is largely because I wanted to show people that regardless of, like, this is actually how to go ahead and use this matrix, right? So if you're like membership, whatever it is that you're doing, these are all the skills that they're looking for. And people should just go out there and just go through this list and just see what is it that I can actually talk about. Well,
Mm,
it's like, oh, I'm in sales. Okay, so you've done stuff like stakeholder management, right?
yeah.
Or like people that are like a data analytics background, or like everybody should be able to tag like metrics and KPIs. So drove customer and business impact against OKRs and your team. So like there's so much overlap between product management and all these other roles, but if you don't put it in product management vocabulary, then they just like it's like they're reading it in a foreign language. So what people should be doing is actually scrolling through the resume description bullets and just asking themselves, is that something that I've done? If you've never worked with engineering teams before, then that's fine. You switch over and it's like, but you've worked with business teams. So work with market and user research teams to better understand customer needs. Anybody in the sales capacity can say that. We have a lot of finance people that take our program too, and it's the same thing. Like they do testing and validation as well because they have dashboards working in as an analyst or in trading, right? So okay, so analyze competition and future of the market. It's actually not like difficult. Like not every bullet that you put down needs to be a rock star bullet. You only need 4 to 6 bullets per position, right? 4 to 6 bullets per position. And then on top of that, like the first bullet should be the strongest bullet, which is your headline bullet. It should pretty much sum up the role. And then on top of that, metrics, what they want to see and what is going to piss a head of director of product or chief product officer off the most is like the recruiter, they're not going to take a look at your resume. And even if they do, you have to like really bet hard that they're just going to like, what am I looking at? Right. Like I said, my team's waiting for me to record 3 15-second videos and I don't even have the bandwidth to do that. So you imagine like how wired they are, right? You got to have some bullet points ready to go where like starting metric, ending metric, time frame. Because the other thing that people want right now is fast. We don't have a year to ship something out, right? So like ideal timelines, anything I would say within 90 days to 180 days. So even within 90 days, creative ways of saying it, 3 months, 90 days, 12 weeks, Q1, right? Or you say it like that within like 6 months. People want things done fast because time's moving, market's moving really fast. So I've seen resumes where my friends have rejected strictly because they're like, oh, those are good impact bullets. But then you got to think about the next thing is like, how long did it take you to do that? If it's like, if it takes like a long time, like we want somebody that can work quickly. Is that to say that you could deliver? Who knows? But there's, a lot of the people that are getting the job, unfortunately, they're also lying about it, and they're also that's the way that they're getting the interviews is because they have the starting metric, the ending metric, and the time frame. So starting metric, ending metric, time frame, starting metric, ending metric, time frame. This is what I emphasize so much in the program because like when they're passing your name around and when they're thinking about who to hire, that's what they're thinking about is like, okay, we need to increase in-app purchases for this dating app. In order to do that, we need to increase user screen time. In order to increase user screen time, we need to go ahead and increase like new users, right? So we need to grow our email. They're gonna have like we need to grow our user email our newsletter list. We need to grow like our ad spend. We need to do this. So these are the KPIs that all affect this one KPI that's gonna affect this one KPI, which is you know, you're only gonna get like I recently did this. Somebody just is interviewing with Tinder. You're only gonna go out there and increase in yeah, I know I'm rooting for that person to get the job too. You're only gonna increase in-app purchases by two things. There's only two things that's gonna increase in-app purchases. Either they're spending more time on the app, or you have more new people. These broke up with somebody and they're like, I'm going all out, right? Right. And like, so either, because the people like, they already know if within like the first 30 days of signing up, if they're not really engaged, if they just haven't turned it on in 3 months, chances are they're not going to hop back on the app again. So they want to keep them on the app as much as possible. So think about those things. KPIs, KPIs, KPIs. You don't always have to have relevant KPIs, but just even showing people how we've been able to outcompete other people for the same jobs, even if they don't have like industry experience. Like you saw, we got people into Hulu, Disney Plus. They don't have a streaming background because you have to have a lot of money to be a streaming company, right? So there's only a handful of companies that can do streaming because a streaming company, essentially, you're almost a film production company too. But if you're just showing that you can generate um, results within like 3 to 6 months, that is actually very hot. Because like and also keeping the resume as diverse as possible. Generalist resumes right now actually outrank specialist resumes because in the world of where, China and US is in an AI race, something like DeepSeek can just happen and then they come back in and they're like, all right, we're doing a different business plan this year, right? And then all of a sudden, you were good for the role last week, and then you're not good for the role this week, right? So they want to see that you can change quickly. This is why when we're tracking the data, 85 to 90% of the product management interview questions compared to when you and I first talked went from technical product management questions, how to build, to now behavioral questions. How do you respond? Like companies right now are just asking people over and over again, like, okay, tell us like you dealt with a difficult challenge. Tell us when you had to deal with multiple difficult challenges at the same time. How do you prioritize each challenge? We're going to give you scenario A, B, and C. They want to put you in these impossible situations because essentially speaking, what you're doing right now, there's very little data. Like every company that's whipping out AI is trying to figure out how DeepSeek was able to do it with 6 million. So the resume needs to look as general as possible. That's actually why, like, that's also something that I talked about during the interview, the resume videos is like when DeepSeek came out, a lot of those interviews and offers they got halted because they're like, okay, because why? Because think about what would happen if you were running these businesses, right? You're like, we need to stop everything that we're doing right now and reassess our business model. Some of them got pushed through. Came Monday, they're like, yeah, we're resuming interviews, we're resuming offer process, and then some of it is like, I think if you just utilize a little bit more common sense, this is not something that's like so far fetched. Yeah, if you're Nvidia, if $600 billion of your market share just got wiped out, you're probably stopping everything that you're doing right now and thinking about, okay, should we stay the course or do we go out there and like, make some adjustments to the plan? Right. So like keep it as diverse as possible, but have those metrics over there. 85 to 90% of the interview questions right now are legitimately behavioral questions. So like, and we have this because our people are scoring multiple offers and they're getting hired based upon character and personality traits and not so much experience because the market right now is changing. The amount of change that happens in a market in like 5 years, I've probably seen more change happen in the last 18 months than I did the last 8 years I was running Product Gym. So, and it's only happening more, you know, because Trump can just slap like 25% tariffs and then Canada and Mexico decides to go out there and retaliate with another 25% tariffs. And then they'll say like, okay, we're going to push it out for 30 days. This makes business operating major enterprise level businesses is big tech makes pretty much all the big moves, and then everybody below it just eats off of the crumbs. Pretty much how the ecosphere works, right? So when mom and dad gets into a fight, all the kids are like, "Oh, what should we do next?" To say like that doesn't affect everybody else, like it's being you're just not being realistic. Like, and that's what I've been having to tell people like over and over again. Like, I understand people, a lot of people need to get a job, they want to get a job, all that other stuff. But you got to understand, like, this is how what they're dealing with, and this is psychologically speaking where they're at in their emotional headspace. And when you're going into the interview, like, and this guy's pissed off. He's been in a few meetings. He probably hasn't slept in like, well, if at all, in the last 4 days. And it's just so clear you're trying to rob this dude. Yeah, you're gonna get a very pissed off person. You know, they're not coming in here freaking professional. Cool. Okay. And
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
cool.
it.
So it doesn't take, honestly, everybody's only one application, one interview away from landing their next job. One application, one interview away from landing their next job. Your homework right now, watch all the resume videos because I made a huge list, including all the updated action items based upon the new algorithm for 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And I included not only the resume videos, but the last two videos. I made one for LinkedIn and I made one for cover letter. And yes, cover letters are still necessary. If you guys don't want to use it, I don't care. I'm not the one looking for a job, but go through that entire thing. And come back to me with the resume updated. Because if a hiring manager said, oh yeah, okay, you reached out to them on LinkedIn right now, they say, send me your resume, uh, it's not gonna go like that's the thing. It's not gonna go that far. So you just be wasting your time anyways.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a
Absolutely.
plan. All right, thank you. I'm
Thank you.
just gonna stick up. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks
I'm
a
just gonna
lot,
stick up
Richard.
with Plexi really quick and then be on your way.